Let's start this again. Athabasca University respectfully acknowledges that we live on and work on the traditional lands of the Indigenous people, Inuit, First Nations, and Métis of Canada. We honor the ancestry, heritage, and gifts of the Indigenous people, and we give thanks to them. So thank you, everyone, for joining us today. This is one of 5 sessions that we do as part of the Developing Your Research series at Athabasca University, which is specifically geared towards the research journey of graduate students. However, this is obviously very applicable information to anybody who is undertaking any research, regardless if that is undergrad or graduate. I want to give a special welcome to all of our students joining and other students joining from other universities like Memorial University, who we have a partnership with, and we offer this webinar along with other webinars, and they kind of co-offer some webinars too. So thank you for joining us, everyone. And just a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. You'll notice that today we have disabled access for your mic and your camera. That's just to kind of field some background noise. We have a lot of people registered for this webinar. But if at any point you have a question, or when Jennifer allows the questioning period, if you would rather use your mic to ask the question, you can just raise your hand and we will allow you access to your mic at that point in time. Other than that, you can use the chat feature to put any questions that you might have in the chat box. So I think that is kind of it for my first spiel. So I will just introduce our presenter today, who is Jennifer Rempel from the Athabasca University Library. And you can take it away, Jennifer. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Crystal, and thanks for the introduction. I'm in British Columbia currently, so I have my land acknowledgement in the chat. I'm on the traditional territory of the Sinixt, the Seal, Ktunaxa, and Secwepemc. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly, probably not, but we'll do our best. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining us today. So our session is on citation management with Zotero. And as Crystal has said, my name is Jennifer Rempel. I'm the Information Literacy and Resource Access Librarian here at AU Library. Okay, so here's what we'll cover during today's session. So we're going to talk about what citation management tools actually are and why you might want to use them. I'm going to show you where to find the library's citation management guide, and then that guide also has a link to where the recording will be found later in the week, the recording of this session, and that will also be in your handout. We're going to take a look at Zotero specifically and how you can use that tool to import citations, create bibliographies, and collaborate if you choose. For questions, you can put them in the chat. I may or may not get to them because sometimes it can interrupt the flow of the presentation. But if you're having a question, you can put it in the chat, and then I can answer them at the end or when there's a sort of a break in the session because we're moving around topics a little bit. So again, put those in the chat box. This session will be posted on our YouTube channel later today. Yes, and previous sessions within the series, I do see question in chat. Those are on the library's YouTube channel, and that link to that is in the handout. And we are labeling them as part of the FGS webinar series, and then you can see our sessions from other years as well. Okay, so we will get started then on our topic. So what are citation management tools? A lot of you are probably already aware, or maybe you're just learning. It's all good. So they are a software that allows you to capture citation information for resources such as journal articles, books, websites. These tools work by organizing your references into collections, which you can then sort, search, and annotate. You can even add tags to if you like. These tools typically allow you to create bibliographies for your assignments in almost any citation format you need, specifically including APA, MLA, and Chicago, but they do have other types as well. You can also use these tools to collaborate with colleagues. You can use them to share articles and other items, and if you want to share a professional profile too. Okay, so to get us started, we will just show you where our guide is. Again, a lot of the links I'm showing, the websites I'm going to on my demonstration here are all going to be on your handout that has been sent to you. And thanks, Crystal, for that. All right, so to find our citation management guide, you can go to the library homepage, and then under Get Library Support, there's a little tab that says Evaluating and Citing Information. And this shows you all of our sources or all of our materials on that. So if you click on Citing Your Sources, you'll get to see our citation guide as well as our citation management guide too. So we have a guide on styles, So style guide and then citation management guide, a little bit different, but they are linked together as well. So this guide just basically explains in some more detail where to download Zotero, Mendeley, other tools, and then just more information about those. This guide also contains a chart comparing the 3 most popular citation management tools. So some of you may have heard of Endnote, Mendeley, as well as Zotero. So we always get the question, and we probably will today, and it's fine, but it's what software is better, Zotero, Mendeley, or Endnote? We're keeping Endnote off of this because it's not free. You have to subscribe. But honestly, between Zotero and Mendeley as well, it's up to you. So it does depend on your personal preference. So when you, after this presentation, if you choose to look at the guide, you can kind of download Mendeley, download Zotero, and play around with them and see which one you like better. So we don't really have a preference necessarily. Zotero tends to be preferred in general, just because it's a little bit easier to use, and Mendeley is owned by a large publisher, so some people don't like that either. So in this presentation, we'll focus on Zotero specifically, though, again, you can choose what other tools you like to use if you like. Okay, so with Zotero in particular, you will want to start by downloading it. So you can download it for free at zotero.org. So you want to download and install the web version because there's a download the desktop and also sync it to your web version. But so if you go to zotero.org, you'll be asked to download the tool, and it will detect which operating system you're using. It'll detect which browser you're on. So in this case, there will be different options. So for me, I have Windows, and Zotero is most useful when you have both the standalone app and the browser extension. So Zotero itself, there's a desktop app you download, and there's a web version of your library that you can sync as well. That said, there's also what is called the Zotero connector, which goes in your preferred web browser. So in this case, I'm using Zotero for Windows. I'm downloading the app and the connector both. Basically, you have to download the app, in this case Zotero 7 for Windows, before you can get the extension, of course, so you download both. The browser extension doesn't work without Zotero, pretty clearly, right? And you can install it on Chrome, Firefox, even Opera, they say. I don't know anybody who uses that one, but you can if you like. If you use Safari, apparently this is a new thing. I don't use Safari, but the Zotero connector is bundled with that, so it doesn't require separate installation. So if you use a Mac and are on Safari, you don't have to do the connector separately. But anyway, all this to say, when you get to the website, it will show you which tool you need to download. And once you do that, you can start playing around. And of course, you have to set up a free account first. So again, you will be installing the desktop version, but if you want to synchronize your work across the web or across more than one device, you are going to want to be able to access your Zotero account online, of course. So you have to register for an account. It's not just an app you can have on your device without logging in. You do need to do both to sync your accounts, right? So it's pretty straightforward. You register for a free account, you fill in all the required information, you get your connector installed, and then you will see what your Zotero account looks like. So this is what your Zotero web account would look like before you have pulled in any citations. So this is just the Zotero web library is what it's called. So once both the Zotero app and the browser plugin are installed, you're going to see a little icon. It looks like a piece of paper. That's the Zotero icon. That's on your browser toolbar. So this will be important later. So you will see this is what your account looks like on the web, and this is your little icon on your browser toolbar. So we're going to try importing some citations. So for this demonstration, I'm going to use the desktop app. So again, just to repeat, there's a desktop app that you have to download. You can create a web account. So this will sync up your desktop app with your web account that's online. So this is what your web account looks like when you're on the website and logged in. I'm in the desktop app now instead. So I'm going to demonstrate on the desktop app because it's a little bit easier to import citations on there. And you'll see it looks exactly the same. They have the exact same layout, both of these libraries, and you can sync them together. So anything you import in either one can be shared. Okay, so getting started is pretty straightforward. Just what you want to do first, though, is create collections. So for collections, you want to do a different collection for each different assignment for which you're collecting research. So if you're writing a thesis, you want specifically a big folder for that. If you're writing an English paper, you want a folder just for that assignment, because the value of creating bibliographies here is you can create bibliographies for each assignment. So I recommend, it depends on your project, but typically you're going to want to create a new folder per assignment. So you can do this in a few ways. If you look here, there's a little icon there. It looks like a folder with a plus sign on it. If you click on that, a pop-up will appear and you can name your new folder. You can also go to File at the top. You see File and New Collection. Either way, you're going to want to give your folder a descriptive title that, is very clear to you what it is and what it's for. So for example, I'm writing a chemistry paper, I'm doing a chemistry lab, I can write that Chem assignment or Shakespeare essay. In this case, for my example, I'm a student writing a biology paper. So for this specific biology paper, I might want to give it a better title like the topic, but for demonstration purposes, this is my biology paper folder. Anything that's going in that folder or is going to be in my assignment and vice versa. So you want to, again, create folders per separate assignments typically. Right, so my biology paper folder ready to go. So I'm going to show you a few ways to import references. So I will show you with a sample search in Discover. So Discover, hopefully you're aware. If you don't know what it's called, at least you know it's the box, the search box on the library homepage. This is our Discover search tool that searches through citations for our catalog items as well as our journal article items. But again, if you're going to do a sample search here, we'll do our Discover search, and I'm going to do a basic one for climate change and biodiversity and Canada. This is what my paper is about. So I've done my search here and I have found an item that I like. So this is, you can see here, this is my search on the homepage and these are my results. And just again, as an example, I've decided, okay, this paper looks great. I want to import the citation. So this is going to work differently depending on the database. Discover and other EBSCO collections, which you'll notice are like Academic Search Complete, CINAHL, they're going to look the same. The functionality is pretty similar, but I'll just show you some of the few differences here. But virtually all journal article databases will have an export function. So to get to that export function, you want to open what's called the full record. So basically, this article title looks good. I click on the title. This opens the full record, which is essentially the abstract, author, publication information, all that stuff. So I'm in the record. Now, once I've done that, I will simply click on my piece of paper icon, the little connector, and a drop-down menu will appear. And you can say, I want to import it directly into my biology paper. So a drop-down will appear, select biology paper, and there you go. Very easy. Imported right into your folder in your account. So you will have a library that is every single citation, but the collections within that are separate collections as well. And I see a Zotero method. That is way over my head, unfortunately. I cannot answer that question. Do not know. There are tags for permalinking ideas, so you can put tags in there, but that is a question I cannot do. JSTOR, yes, you'll have to email the front desk for that, unfortunately. JSTOR has issues with linking. But yes, you can import citations from JSTOR. But as for troubleshooting, you have to get in touch with the front desk for that. And for the Zotero method, you have to maybe contact Zotero for that, and I got to look that up. That's a new one on me. So, all right, so to our presentation. So we've imported a citation into Zotero. So what are we going to do with that citation? What does it look like? You can see here what that is. So on the left-hand side, you got your collections, the title in the middle, and on the right-hand side, you have basically the breakdown of the article and what's in there. But I want to make it very clear, it does not save the PDF. It does not. Zotero, when you import a citation, it's only the citation information. You're not actually pulling in the PDF. What you can do is download the PDF separately, and you can then attach that to your citation already once you've found and downloaded the PDF already. So to do that, once you're in your Zotero library, you'll go into the item. So you want to click on the title that you want to link the PDF to. Do a little drop down there with a piece of paper, attach file, and then navigate to where the file is, where you saved it on your computer or device, and then you can attach it that way. So then the PDF is attached. And once the PDF is attached to your citation, you can make notes, highlights, annotations, etc. You can also add tags. I didn't put a specific slide here on this, but when you're in Zotero, some of the articles will have tags automatically attached. So you can link through that way. So, you can use tags as well as notes, that kind of thing. Do be aware this does take up some of the storage space in your Zotero account, although you have quite a bit. Okay, so you also don't have to save the PDF right away. If you, oh, sorry, I was going to show annotations as well. So this is our PDF. So we're viewing the PDF here, and we're just playing around with their system where you can make annotations. You see I've highlighted a particularly important bit. I can make notes. I can add tags, whatever. Okay, so, but say you've forgotten to save the PDF, or you weren't able to save it. You maybe couldn't find the full text right away. Sometimes you got to track it down. You could just be gathering initial citations. What is useful again about pulling those citations in is that when you're in your Zotero library, you can right-click and you'll see a little option that says View Online. So that will take you back to the item record in the database where you found it, so you can go back and save it later. Cautious with this one though, if you are doing a lot of searches on a specific computer and then change devices and use that link again, may or may not work because you have to be, of course, logged in to your library account to actually access those PDFs. I have a question here. Does this work if the Zotero tab isn't open in the browser? Zotero tab, you mean like the Zotero website? What you need to have open is your desktop app, or you can have, yes, the tab open in another browser to your Zotero library. You do have to have either the desktop app or the library open to actually pull in citations. So that browser icon stays there permanently, but if you try to import a website or something and click on the browser icon and Zotero's closed, it will remind you, oh, open Zotero first, then pull it in. So yes, it doesn't quite work. So you want to have either your browser, your web account open in your browser or your desktop account for pulling in citations. And sorry, I was just responding to the chat there. Okay, so anyway, if you don't save the PDF right away, go to View Online. It'll take you back. You can save the PDF later on if you want, or just have that link to refer to in the future. Okay, another useful way to capture citations is Google Scholar. This is a search tool some of you are aware about. It crawls the web for research materials from libraries, institutional repositories, other scholarly sources, sometimes data archives, that kind of thing. If you do find an article from Google Scholar and you want to save the citation there, you can do that very easily too. So you want to click on that Cite button. So you can see here, this article I found in Google Scholar, I've done the same search, very basic, has a little cite icon and there's some little quotation marks there. Click on that and a pop-up window will appear. So the thing you want to choose, this is a little bit of an extra step from Zotero, right? Normally, you can do a one-click import. Sometimes there's an extra step. So click on Ref Man, REF Man. That means Ref Manager. So we don't have Endnote or RefWorks. Reference Manager is what you want to click in the middle there. Then once you click on that, it will download again to your browser, and it'll download the citation into your browser. And then you click on that RIS file. It will ask you to confirm the import into your collection. Click OK. And there it is. So it's added to your collection. One thing you want to be aware of when you are adding things to your Zotero library is it might not go to the correct collection just in case. So in this case, I've imported it, but it didn't get that I want to go to biology paper. It just imported it into my overall collection. It'll sometimes happen depending where you're importing citations from. But pretty simple to fix, drag and drop. So again, you will have your main collection, all of, I guess your main library, all of your imported citations, every single one of them, and each collection divides it up. So from the main collection here, drag and drop into the correct folder. So pretty straightforward. Okay, so a couple other things here, how to delete collections as well. So you may or may not decide, sometimes you get duplicates as well. So if there's a duplicate in there, you can pretty easily just click on delete collection if need be. Okay, so you can also upload multiple citations at once from Google Scholar. So again, I kind of caution against this because you want to make sure the citations you're importing are going to be things you actually use. Although that said, Research is an iterative process. You might decide to delete some citations later. But when you're pulling things in, if you really have a good list here of citations in Google Scholar, for example, say a very narrow set of questions, sometimes you do a Google Scholar search, there's millions of results. In this case, my search for climate change, biodiversity, British Columbia, and Indigenous health. So this is a very specific search on 4 separate topics: BC, Indigenous health, biodiversity, climate change, right? So this is a very, very specific search, and I've only pulled in 58 results. So again, narrow topic, narrow results. I'm not pulling in a million citations. You do not want to do that. So again, if I want to pull all of those citations in, I could. So there's a little icon here. It looks like a little icon, like a little catalog card record from the print days, or a little recipe card. If you click on that, it will allow you to select. It'll show you all of the citations on the page and allow you to click which ones specifically you want to pull into Zotero. So if you want to do bulk imports from a search in Google Scholar, you can do that. But do be very careful, because you don't want to pull in way too much stuff. And actually, there is a fail-safe, because this is the results per page. So every page of Google Scholar results has its own thing. Luckily, they did that, because you would not want to pull in a million results into Zotero. That'd be a disaster. Okay, so you can also pull in websites, web page information into Zotero. Again, in this case, as per our chat, standalone Zotero app has to be open in your desktop to import web citations, right? So if you found a web page that you want to use for your assignment, you will have to include that in your reference list as well. So of course, you want to cite everything you use in your bibliography. In this essay, sorry, in my sort of mock essay, sample essay for this purpose, I've cited the paper, this web page in my paper on Canada and biodiversity. So to import this, again, it's pretty straightforward. You will click on that piece of paper icon in your browser, and then, again, the pop-up will appear, and you can click the arrow to save it into your specific collection, which is my biology paper collection. And this is what it will look like once it's been imported. So this is another place where I'm going to warn you about machine-generated citations. They're not always right. In fact, they're more often than not wrong. So you can pull in citations from Google Scholar. You can pull in citations from the databases, but usually they're not correct, because they were generated by a machine, right? They were just taking fields and filling them in different slots, right? So the information might not be correct. So in this case, you can see the title and author are not right. The title is, it's saying, I think it said main details, which is not the name of the website, right? It's pulled this in from somewhere, but the information wasn't correctly formatted perhaps on the website in their metadata. So you can actually, on the right here, click on each of these fields and edit them to fix them. So going forward, it will be the correct citation. Another useful little tidbit is that Zotero will pull in a snapshot. This is very useful. Websites change all the time, of course. So whenever you cite, or pull in rather, a citation for a website, Zotero automatically takes a screenshot. So it's under snapshot here. So this captures what the website looked like the day that you accessed it. Could be useful. Well, you know, a lot of government websites, particularly in America right now, for example, are changing rapidly. So could be useful, especially if you're doing, say, government research or doing research on data, things that change rapidly. That snapshot could help you, because if you're citing something that disappears, you do have proof. So in case you need that, it can be useful. Okay, so that's for web pages, electronic sources. You can also import citations for print books and ebooks from the AU Library Catalog. So I'll show you this as well. So the library catalog is separate from Discover. Discover is sort of a search tool that pulls in citations from our catalog, from our databases, from the web, from all over the place. Library catalog is strictly physical items the library owns in our library in Athabasca that you can order, or our ebooks and some other resources that are online. But for the most part, library catalog, books and ebooks. So if you want to pull in citations from there, maybe you borrowed a book or you have one that we also have, you can do that pretty easily too. So you do a search for your topic or your title of your book. And once you found a book that you may want to use, again, open the full record by clicking on the title. This book looks quite useful on my topic. So I'm going to pull this into, again, exact same process, except you might notice, it's kind of clever, the little piece of paper icon, it has turned into a book. So it's figured out, okay, you're citing a book this time, so click on that, and there you go. Same thing, pick the folder, import it right into your collection. Pretty straightforward. If there's a book we don't have in our collection that maybe you own, your friend lent to you, you bought it somewhere else, I'm not promoting Amazon here at all. This is just that they have a lot of books. So you can easily import book citations from Amazon as well if you happen to not find the citation elsewhere. You can use Amazon if you choose. So you do an Amazon search for the book you want to cite. Make double sure it's the correct format, right? So I don't want to cite the ebook version of this. I don't want to cite whatever. It's the 2019 edition. So you go to the edition you want to cite, and same thing. You can pull in that citation information, click on the little book, and it'll pull it in right to your collection. Again, not promoting Amazon at all. I'm just saying they have a lot of books. That's what they were originally known for, right, is their books. Other websites do the same thing. You can also, again, try our library, and you can also just manually type in into the, you can manually create entrances in Zotero too. I thought I'd go over that. Okay, so I also want to show you the Internet Archive. It's also a very good collection of digitized materials. So digital books, scanned books, all kinds of stuff are available there. It's an online website. You can go on there to borrow books. If there's things we don't have, check there. But if you do want to cite from there, it's the same thing. It's pretty straightforward, right? Search for the book in the Internet Archive. Once you found the book you want to cite, click on the paper icon, and it'll pull it into your collection. So again, pretty straightforward there from Internet Archive. Okay, so now, as you can see, this is what it looks like now. Once I've, except for all the lines, of course, I've pulled in a lot of citations into my library. So what can I do with them now? Quite a few things. So if you click on one of the items, as I described before, you can see the item details that'll come up in the right-hand pane. So you can add or edit these details if necessary. So this is an example here. If you kind of squint your eyes and look, you can kind of see why you want to edit the entries. So the book from the Internet Archive that I just pulled in, this citation has a lot of errors, right? It lists the Internet Archive as the contributor instead of the main author. So when people are putting in metadata for all these electronic materials, they might put it in the wrong field, in the wrong spot. They might not know who the author is. Again, with machine learning and machine-generated citations, it's all based on the information that was input, so you always have to double-check. So in this case, I can go in and fix all this information. The author wasn't the Internet Archive, all these things. They have other issues too. Like in this case, sometimes with Internet Archive, they'll get a book donated from a library, and they'll have the library as the author. You don't got to do that. You basically you treat print books that are digitized the same way you would as any print book, right? But when you're pulling the citations into here, you want to clarify that you're making sure that all these citation details are correct. So in this case too, an example of this book I pulled in, citation 4, the biodiversity book from Amazon, I believe, it had a bunch of different authors that were listed as editors. So instead of having a single author in one of the fields, as the machine might want to put it into, the computer might want to slot it in there, you can change it actually. You can change each field to be editor. So you can change it to editor instead of author. That way, when you format citations, because again, when you're doing your bibliography, it's going to pull all those information fields and put them into where they should go in the citation. You'll see it later on when I demonstrate, but basically what is in this right-hand pane is what's going to show up in your citation ultimately. So you want to make sure this information is accurate, and you can change it and edit it if you have to too. Okay, so you can add each author separately. Double check, always confirm. Okay, now we're getting to everyone's favorite, I think. Kind of the reason you're here is to create bibliographies very easily, right? So pretty simple to do. Again, this is why it does take some advanced preparation. You want to make sure that every item, website, sometimes images, image collections, articles, book chapters, everything you're citing should be in your bibliography, right? So you want to include all those items, make sure they're all in your folder for that particular assignment. So in this case, this is my biology paper. I have all my citations ready to go. I want to create my bibliography. So you just right-click on that folder and create bibliography from collection. And then, of course, here's where a pop-up window will appear where you can pick the citation style. They have a lot of them. The default ones that you can choose on their menu, you can see if you look APA, Chicago, the major ones, You can import like obscure, like sometimes like IEEE, for example, for engineers, they have a particular citation style that you can import. Or IEEE is probably on here, but there's so many styles you can look at. I tend to just go with MLA, APA usually. Once you pick the style, you highlight it there, click it, you select bibliography, and then save as RTF. This will save the bibliography as a Word document. So of course these pop-ups will appear once you've done that, asking you where you want to save it. So of course you want to save the bibliography somewhere where you'll find it really easily. Like I usually just put it on my desktop, or I'll have a separate folder. So make sure you have a place though where you can find this document again very easily. It's going to be a Word document. Okay, so it's all saved. I've made my bibliography, I've chosen the style, I've clicked it all through, and now here it is. So as you can see, looks pretty good. It saved a lot of work. It's created a whole formatted bibliography from my citations, but there are a lot of problems, unfortunately. You do have to look closer and double check anything machine generated. Unfortunately, you gotta confirm, right? So here you can see page numbers missing. This article is more than one page long, right? So that's incorrect. This is APA style, this incorrect formatting of the capitalization, right? In this case, there's just a random number, probably some electronic document number from PLOS. What is it? We don't know. No URL, no DOI. Material is missing, and material here is incorrect. So you always want to confirm. And like I showed you before, you can fix that information before you even do the bibliography. Again, on the right-hand panel there, you can click on any item you wish to edit. The right-hand side, you can fix the capitalization. Say if you're, but that's a challenge too, because MLA rules about punctuation or capitalization are different. You can change it so it looks the same every time. If you say normally use APA, so you can add the DOIs, the everything that you need there, the page numbers, everything. You can make sure everything's all correct in this right-hand panel. And that usually, of course, involves actually looking at the document. Like we forget here, you have to actually look at the PDF sometimes to find this information, which again, or at the abstract, right? Because sometimes it's not always included, but I'll get into that a bit more later. But you can see here, you're going to want to double check everything. So as we go forward, we do get a lot of questions about DOIs. So DOIs and URLs are sometimes missing from your Zotero citations. This example has that here missing. So what a DOI is, it's a digital object identifier. This is just a link. It's a number given, a very unique number given to a piece of published research. And it's meant to be the definitive place to track down that item from the publisher. So a couple distinctions here, right? This is the publisher's DOI they've assigned to this item. If there's no DOI that has been pulled into the citation, you can try and track it down. You probably need it for your citations, of course. So here, sometimes the DOI is available in the item's PDF. If you actually look at the PDF, it might list it. But if it's not, I can also go back to where the item was found in the database. So I'm going to say, okay, the URL is still here. Let's click on this and see if I can find the DOI somewhere because it's missing. So this link has taken me back to the database. This collection is called ProQuest. You see it looks a little bit different, but it is a library database. And if you click on abstract details, again, sometimes the DOI can be hidden. But if you take a look, I looked at details. There was no DOI listed. So looks like there isn't one. I even, again, went to the PDF. This is the PDF of the article that I've cited in my bibliography. The PDF does not have the DOI either. So last thing to do, or maybe first thing if you want to save time, really, is go to crossref.org. It's very useful. I sent you that, or sorry, Crystal sent you the handout. The link to this is on the handout too. So to find a DOI, click on Search Metadata within Crossref. Within quotation marks, just put in the title of the article within quotations, because that will look for that article, because there's millions of articles in here, right? So put the title in quotation marks, and you will see, because that keeps it all linked as a single phrase. So if I do that, I can find the item, and sure enough, here's my article, and there is a DOI. Okay, great. So the DOI takes you to the publisher's website. It doesn't necessarily take you to the place you found the document. So I found this document online somewhere, right? no DOI, but the DOI actually takes you to where it was published originally. So again, copy and paste the DOI. Not every article will have one. Some people stress out, they freak out, oh my God, this article from the 60s, there's no DOI, what do I do? DOIs are pretty new. They've been around maybe 15 years, 20 years, just been incorporated into the citation guides kind of recently. Not all articles have a DOI, especially if it's an older article. You may want to confirm in crossref.org. If Crossref doesn't have a DOI, it probably doesn't have one. But again, don't freak out too much. Find what material you can, and if it's not available, it's not available. But yes, if you need help with citations and things like that, the right site in the library can also assist. Okay, so just more on DOIs. I have copied the DOI from Crossref. I've gone back to my library, pasted it into the DOI field there. So now, next time I make my bibliography, the DOI will be there. And again, make sure you format the DOI correctly. Part of the issue with using Zotero is it does require you to already have some familiarity with your citation style because it saves you a lot of time. It will format things in the APA way. But if you don't know what you're looking at, if you don't know that like, oh no, APA doesn't use this style of capitalization, you could be in trouble. So you still want to confirm yourself. This is just a tool that's putting things into place for you. So always just double check that the formatting's all right. But yes, here we are. So that's bibliographies. I want to show you the DOI, or sorry, not the DOI, the Zotero plugin that allows you to plug in citations into a Word document. I have to say, I personally don't know if this actually saves you time, but I'll show it to you anyway. So this is your Zotero web library. This is where you find this material. So documentation, if you need help with Zotero, documentation, when you're in your Zotero web library, click on that, and this will take you into all of the documentation, troubleshooting stuff, that kind of thing. It is an open source tool, so there are a lot of Zotero users who have come up with their own plugins. If you get really into it, you could really do a lot with Zotero if you become like a huge expert. But yes, in this case, I just want to show you the word processor plugin. So the word processor plugin allows you to put in in-text citations because we have bibliographies, but don't forget when you're citing things, you always have to say within the text what you're citing, where you got the information from. You always have to have the in-text ones too. They're trying to make it faster. I don't think any software company has really done a good job of this yet. I've seen a couple demos recently, and honestly, it's just faster to type. But if you want the plugin, go to documentation, go to word processor plugin, word processor, information. Sorry, it's tiny on there. You you can install that, and then after you've installed your Zotero plugin, you should see Zotero in your web browser. So not in your web browser, sorry. Too many things. This is your word processor. So I'm using Word. So I've installed Zotero, and I believe automatically now you can go to the word processor information page to find more details, but I believe now it's automatic. Could be wrong. But once you've installed Zotero, you can see in your word processor a little Zotero button on your word processor toolbar as well. So in this case, you can use it if you want by adding it in text citations with a couple of clicks. Again, I don't know how useful it is, but I've done my sentence here. I've written a nice paragraph, written a nice sentence. I'm quoting or I'm paraphrasing somebody. I'm paraphrasing, so I want to make sure I cite the correct source. So I can click on my toolbar and go to Add in Text Citation. It'll ask me again in a pop-up, what style do I want to use? You can use the same one. So okay, using APA, and then it asks me, it'll take me back to my Zotero library in a pop-up, and I will have to pick from here the item I want to cite. And once I've picked it, I click OK. I want to just double check. I can actually search, and what I've done here actually is this is pretty easy to do. If you have like dozens and dozens of citations, you might have to just search for the author by title. So I've searched for the author Brubaker. I want to cite her paper. I've done a search. I found the paper in my library. I've clicked OK, and it's pulled in the citation in the in-text. Again, if you're really fast at it and you're really well set up, what I would caution you about doing this, about using this, I would caution you about using this tool just because you want to make sure you're not pulling in the citation for the wrong item. And you also want to double check that it'll include things like the page number. It won't include the page number. Sometimes with APA, for example, you have to include the page number if you're directly quoting. So that won't be included in here too. So you got to add that manually anyway. All this adds is the author's names or name and the date. Again, it's a feature. You could use it if you want. To me, I just think it's faster to just type it out, frankly. But hey, maybe you get really fast at it. Some people can get really good at Zotero and get like, it becomes their whole style. But you know, just a couple of options here. So a couple of other things that you can do here is sometimes, again, adding the page numbers. Oh, yeah, I forgot about this. There's an extra step. Like you can actually add the page number by clicking again, going through the whole process, and then saying omit author. Because again, the challenge too is sometimes if you cited the author already, you only include the page number. So all these little details, probably not the most convenient, but you can click on your, in-text citation, you can click on the item you want to cite, you can omit the author, so take the author's name out, put in the page number instead, and then it'll show up that way. Oh, sorry, in your paper. So again, it's very, very fiddly, probably faster to just type, probably the way people write doesn't really involve clicking through to the Zotero accounts all the time. But anyway, this is an option, just to let you know. All right. Moving on a little bit now onto using Zotero to collaborate and share research. So again, this is a very dense session with Zotero. It's useful for your own papers, but it's also useful for sharing. The reason why, again, Zotero can be better than some other citation tools is, for example, RefWorks and Endnote, they require institutional logins for the most part. So if I'm an AU student, and a colleague of mine or a friend of mine, somebody I want to do research with, maybe they're taking a course somewhere else and they have a different university login. Maybe they're at York, right? How do you work together? Well, Zotero is outside of institutional logins. It's just free. It's online. It's on the web. So you can invite anybody you want. So you can create groups. You can collaborate in any way you choose to. So I think I'll kind of go through this just a little bit more quickly because I don't know how many people will use it to collaborate. But again, it's a good option for sharing for sure, especially if you're working on group assignments. Okay, so you can, sorry, I just got a little bit lost here. So yeah, so what you want to do then is once you're in your account, you want to create a shared library. So to do this, I'm going to be demonstrating from the web version. So again, I've flipped over, I'm back on my online web version of my library. So I'm just online in Zotero logged in. So click on groups. Pretty easy, and then it'll take you to a new page. It looks kind of old school, but it has for a long time. Create a new group, and then follow the steps. Of course, you want to give the group a name that describes its purpose. What is this group for, right? You want to make, again, like everything with your research and documentation, make it as descriptive as possible. Same with your collection titles, right? You want to know exactly what it's for so you don't get confused. This group was for library research for digital literacy, so we called it that. And there you go. You can choose different types. So you have public, private, closed. Probably you want to go with private. That way only people you invite can join. Public and open ones, they might be for a project you're doing that you want to gather public data. Who knows? But there are a couple of options here to choose your level. So typically you're going to go with private, but it's up to you. Whatever level of access you want. Okay. Once you've selected the privacy level, you can then create the group. Pretty straightforward. And then start inviting people. So to go back to this group, you want to confirm your settings too. You can double check things like what kind of editing privileges are available. So you can have other admins in your group. You can be the only admin. Yeah, if you take a look, you can fiddle around with settings to allow other people to access the citations you're gathering for your group project. But once that's done, once you go back to groups in your online Zotero library, you'll see that a group is here, it's ready to go. It's a private group, only members can view and edit, that kind of stuff. So to see more options, you can also go to Manage Profile. So this allows you to create your own profile within Zotero, so you can use it to share material as well. And then your colleagues can use it to share things too. So you can add a description of the group you're in, you can choose your area of interest, you can put a photograph on there, whatever. So you can create your own little profile within Zotero. Again, up to you if you want to. You don't have to, but it's a way for people to access your information. because typically you're not going to be inviting strangers to your Zotero group, so they probably know who it's coming from. But if you want your own little profile there, I've set that up too, so you can do that. And again, to add people, click on Manage Members within Zotero groups. This is assuming you're the admin, and then you can say add, send more invitations. So what this does is it allows you to put in either the Zotero ID name that your colleague has chosen, or their email address. In this case, one of my colleagues, I happen to know the name she uses in Zotero. I sent her this link, this invite, and she joined the group that way. So you invite people into your group through email usually, and then that way they have the same access to share citations within the group too. So again, you kind of just send the invites out. Once it's accepted, you can see that they are current members. You can also change their status. So you might want to remove them. You might want to make them an admin. It's the same privileges. I don't remember exactly. I believe only accounts with admin status can share articles. So if you want somebody to be a member, so you can say, I want to share these articles with you, go ahead, take a look. If you want them to share articles back, which you mostly want to do, if you're in a group project, you want to make them all admins, just to be aware. And you can change that status as well. So also send group messages within Zotero. I won't spend much time on this. It's a messaging system, pretty straightforward. Click on their name in the list, click send message, write the message, and it will go to you in your Zotero inbox. You probably don't want other emailing inbox, but if you do, you can use this too. Messaging within the app is also useful if you're, in this account a lot doing different projects. So may or may not be useful, but you can play around and see what options are available. Okay, so we've covered using Zotero for sharing documents. I also want to show you your collaborative library. So this is how you can import items. This is actually how you actually do the importing. It's pretty straightforward. It's the exact same. Importing citations is the exact same as it is normally. So you just want to make sure that if you're importing citations into your group library, that you go into the group in your account, click on Group Library. And so it recognizes when you're trying to import things that it will import it into your correct group library. Okay, so I'm going to look a little bit more at using Zotero as part of your professional profile. We looked at it a bit for sharing, but for your online professional material profile, you might want to use it too to share articles, to share research you've done. I don't know if many people do, but again, this is another option they allow. Mendeley used to do this a lot more, actually. They had a pretty good system of accounts and profiles you could kind of filter through, but not so much in Zotero. I don't know how many people use it for this, but it can be valuable. But yes, click on your profile and click Edit Profile, and you can, again, like I said before, it's similar to your account profile. You just want to put in interest. You can upload your CV if you want a picture, all this stuff. This is like ancient, but on mine. But if you want to create a profile, you can do that too. Again, less and less popular, but who knows? If you're in a group who loves using Zotero, you might want to use this tool as well. Another quick thing to do is if you want to use Zotero for sharing your own research, which you might want to do, you can actually have a folder called My Publications. This can be useful as well. This is only for items that you actually have written and published yourself, which again, it's kind of silly. Not silly, it's kind of funny because it's based on like basically truth it's in the honor system, right? So if you've written an article that's been published and it's available online, you can import that citation and then drag and drop it into a folder. They have a specific folder that Zotero themselves has created. Like you don't got to do this yourself. It's already there. It's called My Publications. Once you import that item though, it will ask, did you actually write this? And they're basically taking you at your word, right? Nobody can really stop you, but I don't know why you would fake that. So if you want to add your own publications to your Zotero account to share with people, to put on a profile, to maybe send out for the people who might want to read them, go ahead and do this, but it will ask you to confirm. So again, yes, I wrote it, I created this work, and then it will then be included in your list of publications in your Zotero account and in your library. And actually, this could be useful too if you're doing CVs. If you want to do a bibliography of publications, of your own publications, that actually is quite useful. So again, there is value to the sort of more social media sharing collaboration aspects of Zotero, but the main thing you're going to want it for is organizing your citations and collecting that stuff and collecting all your data for your research projects going forward. Okay, so That was a very brief introduction to Zotero, I would say. Well, 50 minutes, maybe not brief enough for some of you, but hopefully it wasn't too boring and you learned something from it and you found Zotero interesting. I want to share a couple of resources real quick from the library. Just as we say, these are all in your handout. The library is here to help. Maybe not with tech support with Zotero, because I will reiterate, like the library does not own Zotero. We don't pay for it. We don't subscribe to it. It is a free open source tool available on the web. Anything you do with your account, if you're having technical difficulties, we can maybe troubleshoot a little bit, but we're not Zotero experts. The Zotero documentation is very good. You can usually search because there are tons of people who love open source tools, like to play around with them. They can, modify them, different apps, all kinds of stuff. There's a lot of material there. For other questions, like if you help with your research, with organizing, with this presentation, if you have questions that we can answer, again, if you have a Zotero question, don't hesitate to ask, right? But you can always go to Ask AU Library, and this is where we have some of our guides. So Ask AU Library, we have FAQs, that kind of stuff. We do offer chat. You see Ask Us Chat. This is our contact page. The chat button is available on every page, except we only offer chat about 4 hours, no, 8 hours a week. Yeah, sorry, I'm trying to do the math in my head. Yes, we are under capacity, so we offer chat Tuesdays and Thursdays, I believe from 12 to 4 now? I'm sorry, I actually forgotten because we changed our rules about chat, and I was just on there and I should know. But anyways, yes, chat is offered during the week if you want to contact us that way. We have all our guides, the handout. If you didn't get the handout, yes, I believe Crystal sent those out, so you might need to ask Crystal again for that because she sent the handout out this morning. So if you send up later, you might not get that either. But yeah, okay. So basically, that's it. If you have any questions, the library's here to help. We have our library support page. We have our email address. Yep, handout. Thanks, Crystal, as an update there. So yeah, I hope this information was helpful. We have time for questions now if anyone has any they'd like to ask.